All right, so I will be giving a pretty quick overview of Vana. I'll be diving deeper into Vana at 4:30, but I wanted to kind of give the 5-minute summary. What is Vana? Kind of what problem space do we sit in within decentralized AI? A bit about me, I'm one of Ramesh's former students, did my undergrad here, got into decentralization back in 2015 through mining Ethereum. I would go get GPUs from dumpsters and set them up to mine, and then always wanted to train better AI models, but was often very constrained by data. I think today, as mentioned in one of the earlier presentations, we're kind of running into this realization, which is like AI models are really only as good as their training data. This is the GPT-3 training data. You'll notice most of it is public information on the internet. If you posted on Reddit, you might have already helped train some of these models. Something a lot of people don't realize is that most training data is private, not public. So the public internet represents less than 0.1% of the overall internet data. And that's because most internet data requires permissions or sign in to access, right? If you think about your Google Drive, your email, your iMessage, your photos, none of that is really scrapable on the public internet. That sits inside of these different platforms that aren't necessarily available, so they're not used to train AI today. There's kind of this idea of the data wall in training AI models, which is that we're actually running out of training data to train AI on. If you look at the training data of Llama 3, it's around 15 trillion tokens or words, and that's actually the same amount of data as the whole public internet. So people might be familiar with Common Crawl. FineWeb is the subset of Common Crawl, which is like high quality and deduplicated. That is 15 trillion words, right? So one, it's impressive that we've trained AI on literally everything on the public internet. But if we want to build better AI, we need some place to actually get better data. Companies have realized that their data is really valuable in this AI age, and they've kind of locked down access to it. Right, so you have Reddit earning $200 million from selling data just for AI training. PhotoBucket, $1 to $2 an image. Apple's buying data for $50 million. And we're kind of in this situation where the internet is becoming less and less open. Maybe people remember Stack Overflow or Reddit. They made API changes to make it harder to get their data out. And that's because that allows them to kind of charge more money for the data. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that users still have access to their data, right? So in the same way that when you park your car in a parking lot, the parking lot doesn't own your car, right? They can't take your wheels. They can't do random things to your car. It's still legally yours. You go and get it back. That's actually the same thing as when you put your data in a platform, right? And this is very counter to what most people think of as data. You might think, oh, it's Facebook's data, or oh, it's Twitter's data. But actually the default is it's yours. And then you can grant access, and you do end up granting some permissive access when you check the kind of terms of service. So that's true for every data set, from Tesla to Amazon to Instagram. Instagram is actually one I recommend you go export your data. They give you not just the kind of posts and images that you've posted, but they even include the like AI predictions that they've made about you. And it's a list of like 300 things. One of the things I found in the list they had predicted about me was stressed but not depressed. And it is just like actually hilarious. So highly recommend you export your Instagram data. So what Vana does is it really unlocks data from walled gardens and puts it in users' control, right? So you have these walled gardens, which are kind of coming up around each platform, but Vana has each individual user export their data and put it into these different kind of data pools so that it's available and actually controlled by them. Some of the core concepts that make Vana possible are: one, non-custodial data. What that means is, in the same way that you use a crypto wallet to manage access to like your Bitcoin or your Ethereum, you're kind of acting as your own bank. With Vana, you are your own data processor. So you're basically permissioning your data by actually signing transactions with private keys that you control. I know someone earlier was asking about identity, and I'll go into this more in the talk later, but the identity is all tied to EVM compatible wallets. And so you can have like account abstraction and stuff like that if people are familiar with those terms. The other thing that's important is proof of contribution. So imagine all of us decided to pool our WhatsApp messages together. And then we had this collectively owned WhatsApp data set. Someone in the room could decide they want to kind of take control of it by contributing a bunch of malicious data and pretending to be 100 people, right? And so what proof of contribution does is it verifies that the data coming in is actually high quality, and that's implemented at the data set level. A couple data DAOs as examples. So there's the Reddit data DAO, which has 140,000 Reddit users in it. They reward you based on how much karma you have. So if you have more karma, you kind of get more proportional ownership of the data set. The other one is a newer data DAO that is aggregating car data and Tesla data. They're selling some of this data to car battery companies. And you can see, there's some dashboards I can show in the presentation later on exactly what cars are joining and kind of how the data is being used. One of the things, too, that Flower AI will cover at some point today is an application that's built on top of Vana is Collective One, which is the first user-owned foundation model. Usually when people think about foundation models, you think of them as something that can only come out of big AI labs, right? It takes a huge amount of research, compute, and data to train these things. But what Collective One is doing is really training an AI model based on all the different data available in the data pools on Vana. So there are over 12 million data points contributed by over 1 million users used to kind of train this model and scaling this up to actually create a best-in-class model, right? And so we orient towards around 100 million users contributing 450 trillion tokens of data. We're not there yet. We're 1% of the way to actually train this leading model. And then finally, kind of a few of the different things you can build on Vana. So one is data DAOs. There are around 50 people who build data DAOs on Vana full time. They range from Twitter to LinkedIn to Tesla to kind of any application. Some of them are venture backed, some of them are bootstrapped. You can build financial applications that are powered by data. Third, and I'll talk about this more later, you can build kind of applications that access data sets you can't get anywhere else, right? You can get a data set that has, for each user, their Spotify data, their Twitter data, and their LinkedIn data. You can't get that from a single company, right? So you can build these really interesting AI applications. And then you can also build with data portability. That means that because a user's data is connected to their wallet, they can log in and bring all their data with them, right? So you can have a personalized AI agent that has a ton of context. Join the Builder Workshop later today if you want to go into some more of the technical depth. Thanks so much.